Warning, what you're about to see may disturb you. Fishermen around the world are reeling in more than just fish, and the evidence is shocking. Prepare to dive into the deepest, darkest corners of the ocean, where unimaginable creatures and mysterious objects lurk.
First was discovered by a Florida man, and no, not the one who went around eating faces back in 2012, but just a regular Florida guy who probably went fishing from time to time. Around September or October of 2012, the man, whose name is Gino Govecci, was walking along Pompano Beach when he stumbled across something sticking out of the sand. He picked it up and dusted it off, only to realize that in his hand he was holding a giant eyeball, and in really good condition too. Govecci, excited by his discovery, decided to get in touch with a group of Florida researchers to see if he might be able to learn more about the strange abandoned eyeball. However, was slightly disappointed after having done so, as it meant the specimen would have to be relocated to a lab across the state. While scientists were unable to determine exactly who the eye originally belonged to, they believe it to be some type of very large fish. However, Govecci believes its rightful owner to be a squid, but perhaps it's something else altogether. With no confirmation of the eye's true origin, there's really no way to know. Up next, we have a catch that is just about as extreme as it gets. In 2019, two recreational deep-sea fishermen in Charleston, South Carolina, whose names are not available to the public, made a catch that would set them up for life. Behind bars, that is, as what the men pulled up out of the water and onto their boat was a very large package, which they ripped open to reveal a massive amount of a very suspicious and very illicit white powdered substance, if you catch my drift. The two men immediately contacted the Coast Guard, who instructed officers of the North Charleston Police Department to meet the men out in the ocean until both the Coast Guard and the Substance Enforcement Administration were able to arrive. The package was taken into custody of the administration to be tested and its source investigated. Police later revealed that the weight of the catch was about 30 to 50 kilos with a street cost of up to $1.1 million. Up next, we have yet another Florida find. They really just don't have any dull days down there, do they? Anyways, the catch, executed by an unknown fisherman and captured on camera by Steve Bargeron, occurred in 2014 and was even featured on the Florida Fish and Wildlife's Facebook page. So what was the catch? An 18-inch shrimp, which now that I'm saying it out loud, I realize is a complete oxymoron. But anyways, the giant 1.5 foot long animal, according to Florida Fish and Wildlife after having examined the photos, was not just any regular old shrimp. Well, obviously, but rather it was the fast and incredibly strong mantis shrimp, best known for its ability to punch its front feet at a rate of 50 miles per hour, with reports of mantis shrimp knocking out other sea creatures and even breaking through aquarium glass. And considering the massive size of this particular one, I'd say the two men were very lucky that all they received from this animal was a cool story and a few viral photographs. Next, we have another ocean crustacean creature, and unlike the shrimp, which I actually thought was pretty cool, this one just totally creeps me out. This version of a giant isopod, which has been officially named, bear with me, Bathynomus raksasa, nicknamed Darth Vader or sea cockroach, was first captured in a pair in 2018 by a group of research fishermen off the southwestern coast of West Java, Indonesia, during a deep-sea biodiversity expedition. The giant sea bugs, one male and one female, measured in at 14.3 and 11.7 inches, the male being the larger of the two. The large size, as well as their smooth exterior, was what led scientists to originally assume they had discovered a new species. The team also agreed that this discovery was a perfect example of just how little we know about what goes on in the deep sea. A giant-eyed, prehistoric-looking monster brings us to our halfway point today. This creepy creature was captured by Oscar Lundahl, age 19, in 2019, while on a blue halibut fishing expedition. The strange-looking fish, with comically large bulbous eyes and a thin tail, startled the fisher as it emerged from the water. In fact, Oscar claimed that he was so startled he almost jumped right out of his boat upon seeing the creature. The fish was captured by one of 4 hooks on the young man's line at a depth of about 2,600 feet or 800 meters. The fish, which took almost half an hour to pull up to the surface, was later identified to be a ratfish, a distant relative of sharks. However, it looked quite different from ones previously captured in photographs and video. A likely reason for this is the change in pressure levels from the depths of the ocean to its surface. You see, deep sea fish contain fluid sacs within their cells to maintain their form under the extreme deep sea pressure. So when the pressure begins to decrease, the volume of these sacs expand, generally resulting in bulging eyes as well as the death of the animal. A massive sea creature spanning the lengths of over 2 full-grown adults is next on the list, and it is the giant oarfish, also known as the doomsday fish, as it is said to appear as a messenger from the depths right before large tsunamis or earthquakes. The animal, which is said to have been the inspiration behind many sailors' tales of sea serpents, was discovered washed up on the shores of Catalina Island in Los Angeles by Ali McAlly in 2019. A strange occurrence, as the large creatures are commonly observed trolling along the deep sea floor, so seeing the creature washed up on the sand was baffling to say the least. While this particular oarfish is not the longest to have ever been observed, that one was actually 36 feet long, it is extremely large and quite rare, coming in at a length between 14 and 17 feet. Next, we have an animal that I personally definitely would not want to have caught up in my line. Caught in Port Isabel, Texas in 2020 by Alyssa Ramirez while fishing off of her pier. At first, the animal appeared to be nothing more than a pile of seaweed, but upon closer visual inspection, keyword being visual, Ramirez quickly realized that that was not the case. The animal was in fact later identified as a poisonous bearded fireworm. So it's a really good thing that Alyssa recognized the warning signs and did not try to touch the animal. Otherwise, she would have been stung with a powerful neurotoxin, leaving the area of contact feeling like it was on fire for hours. Up next, we have this weird thing. Captured in 2018 off of a fishing pier in Coney Island by Natalia Vorobach and documented on her TikTok. That thing almost doesn't even look real. What appears to be some kind of alien generated a lot of interest from the public, many excited at the possibility of being one of the first few people to view a documented new species. However, this excitement was dampened when scientists claimed the animal to be a clear-nosed skate, a species of, again bear with me, cartilaginous fish with a triangle-shaped flattened body and 2 dorsal fins on either side of the tail. So basically they described the complete opposite of what Vorobach caught. I don't know, you guys, are we thinking possibly an alien cover-up? Also, let me know the coolest thing that you've ever caught while out in the water. I think mine would probably be a pufferfish, but I want to hear yours too. Next, we have an unidentified furry-eyed fish caught during a February 2019 fishing expedition by a YouTuber who goes by the name of Thai Pig Patrol. The fisherman pulled the alien-looking creature lined with spines and spikes onto a small fishing boat whilst trolling the waters of a small murky river in Colombia. Thai had originally set out to find some catfish and was absolutely shocked at what he reeled in instead, describing it as the strangest fish he'd ever seen in his life, with his friends saying, "What the hell is that? This is the ugliest creature I've ever seen." Kind of harsh, but okay. Viewers of the video did identify the fish as an albino Acanthicus hystrix, a species of armored catfish generally found in rock or gravel bottom channels with moderate to strong currents. And finally, we have honestly probably the cutest creepy thing I've ever seen. I mean, it looks like it was made in a special effects lab, but its legitimacy was confirmed by National Geographic, NBC, and Forbes, along with a few other outlets. The discovery was made on October 10th of 2020 by a group of fishermen after a dead adult shark became caught up in one of their nets. Inside the stomach was 3 baby sharks, 2 of which were pretty standard, but the third was anything but. Similar to one found off of Mexico by a group of Indonesian fishermen in 2011, this was an albino cyclops shark. The shark was later turned over to local marine officials to be studied and is also one of the coolest things I've ever seen.
10 with a barracuda. Barracudas have been known to attack things larger than themselves. They reach lengths of 6 feet and weigh over 100 pounds. They also have very sharp dagger-like teeth, and they use these to pierce through their prey. They are known as a very dangerous fish who attack divers without any obvious reasons. So you can imagine that it would be extremely scary if something like this happens to you.
You see that big flash of silver?
Did you see that?
Yes, I did.
Yeah,
That was like activity or something, man.
oh, no.
Oh! Look out. It's a cuda. You okay, Bill? Bill, just get away from him, man.
What do you guys do in this situation? I wouldn't want to have a battle with a barracuda on my boat. I feel like the fish had the upper hand, even though he was out of the water. I think it must be his teeth. I'd be way too scared to go near this thing, let alone trying to purposely catch one of these monsters, but apparently a lot of these fishermen try to catch barracudas because their meat is really good. But I'll never know because I am not gonna catch one. Next up on our list, number 9 is this fishing accident. Well, his first mistake was going fishing on a little tiny kayak. What was he thinking? I mean, he was just setting himself up for failure right at the start. But going fishing in a little kayak, you basically are saying that you don't expect to catch anything big or worthy. But anyways, this man was fishing when all of a sudden he caught a really big animal that actually dragged him into the water. Once he was in the water, he immediately began swimming to his friend's large boat, and in the video you can hear his friend saying that it was a shark. Alright, so his second mistake was fishing in a shark infested water with a tiny little kayak. What if you just flipped over? That is live bait for the shark. The only two things that he did right was wear his life jacket and swim like hell to his friend's bigger boat. Otherwise, he could have given that shark a nice tasty snack, if you know what I mean. Fisherman charged by a sea lion breaks into number 8. I mean, is this real life right now? You don't hear about this every day, but you know what? Take a look at this clip. This is one angry sea lion.
No, he's missed it.
The sea lion was probably pissed off because the fisherman was stealing all of his food, or he was being tricked by the lure, and he thought it was a fish. Either way, the sea lion wasn't having it. He was just letting the fisherman know that this is his turf and the fisherman is encroaching on it. I just love the part when the fisherman fails so hard at running away. It's like he forgot how to run or just laid down in the sand, accepting his fate. But the sea lion spared him his life that day. Male sea lions can be extremely territorial, and they have actually been known to attack humans. Well, obviously, we just saw that video. Number 7 takes us over to the deep sea fishing disaster. Deep sea fishing can be extremely dangerous if you don't know what you're doing. When you're deep sea fishing, you have the potential to catch some pretty disturbing, scary, and horrific animals. So let's take a look at what this unfortunate fisherman caught. What you're looking at right now came straight from the depths of hell. Okay, not really, but the thing is still pretty terrifying. A fisherman in Florida accidentally caught a very rare goblin shark while he was deep sea fishing. He was about 10 miles off the coast of Key West, Florida, when he managed to reel in this gross looking fish into his boat. Can we all just take a moment and just look at this guy's teeth? I mean, they look like a prehistoric animal that should have went extinct millions of years ago. Their jaws can expand forward to pick up prey, and their razor-sharp teeth can easily tear their flesh apart. They are also known as the vampire shark because they don't like the light, so that's why they live in the depths of the ocean. Greedy shark swims into number 6. Fishermen are used to sharks coming in at the last minute and taking a bite of their catch, but they are fishing in the open ocean. But for those amateur fishermen, they got the shock of their lifetime when this happened to them.
Oh, he's got no line. That wheel line.
Yeah, like I said, you wouldn't expect a shark to steal your dinner when you're fishing on the dock near a pier, so I think these people got a serious dose of reality when the shark came in and scared them to death. I don't think I would be swimming anywhere near this dock from now on. Actually, after watching this video, I don't really feel like swimming in any oceans, rivers, or anything that's shark infested for a very long time. Or ever. The extremely violent fish splashes onto this list at number 5. The fisherman got a lot more than he bargained for when his big catch of the day actually got revenge on him. Take a look for yourselves. Okay, see, I wasn't kidding. This group of fishermen caught a huge arapaima fish, and they tried to drag the fish onto shore in order to kill it. Well, the fish had no intention of dying that day. This is a warrior fish. The fish was desperately trying to escape by flapping around, and he ended up slapping one of the men square in the face, which caused him, a knockout punch. You could see the man unconscious, covered in blood, and you could also hear one of the other men dying of laughter. I don't know if I would go save my friend. A fish just slapped you in the face. I would be ROFLing on the floor. I guess you know who your real friends are. Your real friends would be the ones actually laughing on the floor. If they're a fake friend, they would have come at your help. Okay, crazy fishing accident sinks into number 4. A lot of fishermen have been injured while fishing. There are a lot of safety hazards that fishermen need to be aware of on a daily basis because it is considered to be a very dangerous job or recreational activity. Well, here's a video clip of a man who is recreationally fishing off of his boat. Everything seems to be going smoothly so far, right? Well, it looks like he caught a marlin and he is trying to reel him in, and then this happens. This marlin was like, nope, not today. He decided to fight back with this giant spear on top of his head, and it sounds like he managed to stab one of his fishermen on the boat. After he pierced the fisherman with his razor sharp spear, he managed to make a safe return back into the ocean. Well, I think it's safe to say that these fishermen have learned their lesson, and I think they'll be retiring their fishing rods. A hungry hippo darts into number 3, and I'm not kidding. When I was younger, I always thought the hippos were pretty cute and of course pretty chill. But then I grew up and I came to the harsh reality that hippos are actually very violent creatures who are extremely territorial. A couple of fishermen found this out when they were out of the water trying to catch some fish for dinner. They had no idea that a hippo would actually do this. Watch.
Whoa, close, dude. There's another one though. Where's the other one? We're being chased by a hippo. Oh my god.
Okay, what the heck just happened? Is this real life right now? Did you guys see the size of the wake that this ginormous hippo created? Hippos can swim at a speed of 8 kilometers per hour or 5 miles per hour in the water, which is almost the speed of Michael Phelps. Which means if you see one coming, you have no chance of surviving. So now you know that hippos are pretty quick in the water. And oh yeah, their bite force is 1821 psi. And in case you're wondering, yes, that is very, very strong. Hippos are also known to knock over small boats and attack the people on board. So I probably wouldn't be messing around with a hippo if I was them. I would max out my boat's motor and head for dry land. A kayaker catches an alligator in at number 2. What are they thinking? And yeah, you've heard that right. If I was in a little kayak and I accidentally caught a huge alligator, I would probably or have a heart attack. Either way, I would be dead. In the video, we have an innocent kayaker who discovered an old pool noodle that was floating in a murky swamp. When he went in to pull it out of the water, he got a lot more than he bargained for. Watch.
I think we got a garfish, dude. Be careful, Evan. Oh my god! That's a big ass gator, buddy.
Okay, let's watch that again, but in slow-mo, because why not? Okay, so I'm pretty sure his young son is in the back of his kayak too. He wasn't even trying to go fishing, but he ended up catching the biggest animal of his life. And I just love how quickly he tried to paddle away in his tiny little kayak. If the alligator was hungry enough, he could have easily tipped it over and had a quick bite to eat. Finally, number 1, I don't know about you guys, but if I ever saw an anaconda slithering in the water where I was fishing, I would just get rid of the rod and just call it a day. But for some reason, the fisherman decided it would be a good idea to harass a large anaconda who can easily strangle him and eat him. So here's a clip of what you should never do while fishing. Is this guy where the anacondas swallow their prey whole, starting with the head, or that they can kill their prey by constricting them until their bones crush and they die from internal bleeding? I'm thinking this guy didn't know any of this. He skipped school. He's extremely lucky because his anaconda probably just had a big meal, so he doesn't want to feed again for, several months.
Coming in at number 10, the stoplight loosejaw. Found scattered in the depths of just about every ocean around the world, these slimy black creatures with beating red eyes should have truly never been brought into the light of day. On top of its tiny insect-like frame, the stoplight stoplight loosejaw also has long, creepy, needle-like teeth, but its real claim to fame is its huge jaw that can measure up to a quarter of the creature's length. Strangely, there is no actual floor to the jaw, but this is to reduce water resistance so that it can snap shut quickly, capturing its prey in milliseconds. Due to this terrifying swiftness, they are also sometimes called rat trap fish. Oh, and remember those pointy needle teeth? Well, because there is no flesh to enclose their wide hinging jaw, the teeth serve almost as spears to pierce through their prey before swallowing them whole. I'm just crossing my fingers that I don't get reborn as a bottom feeder in my next life, because I never want to come into contact with these fish for as long as I live. Next up at number 9, the black scabbard fish. A deep sea predator, this creature had fishermen confused when they first found it, as no one could agree what the heck it was. With a strangely elongated body and large fang teeth protruding from its snout, it looks like some hybrid of the alien from the Alien movies and an ancient eel. Generally they are found just west of the British Isles and known to eat many different kinds of fish, crustaceans, and cephalopods, though their favorite is apparently the blue whiting. Now, if you ever find yourself visiting France or Spain, watch out, because these eel monsters are considered a delicacy and quite often consumed. But due to their diet, you run the risk of parasitic infection if not cooked properly. So just think twice before you take your chances, or you might be looking like some strange alien creature if you aren't careful. Coming in at number 8, the rat tail. Also sometimes referred to as grenadiers, these Arctic deep-sea creatures are unlike any other. For starters, they've got giant eyes and big swollen lips that hang from their underside, rivaling even the best lip filler you can get on land. Their head is the largest part of the fish, and the body slims gradually as it goes down the tail, giving them kind of a giant creepy tadpole vibe, measuring about a meter in size. Rat tails also have a light delivering organ called photophores found near the rear end, but scientists have no real clue what its exact purpose is, but it's thought that they use the light to search for food in the deep dark ocean. Despite their creepy exterior, they have been known to be found in seafood markets or even restaurants, but as for me, I think I will be steering clear from eating anything described as a rat or a tail. Next up at number 7, the chimera. With distant relations to sharks, these fish are often referred to as ghost sharks, rabbitfish, ratfish, or even spookfish. The strange alien-like species looks kind of like spooky underwater robots, as they have these unique lines all over their body that, to me at least, kind of look like pieces of welded metal. Found in almost all the world's oceans, excluding the Arctic, the chimera are completely scaleless, similarly to sharks, and on their dorsal fin have a highly venomous spine for protection. And if a scaleless, venomous deep-sea creature wasn't enough for you, to top it off, male chimeras are known to have a retractable, intimate appendage located on their forehead. Now, if that doesn't scream science fiction, then I don't know what will. In the past, these cartilage creatures were hunted for their liver oil, as it was commonly used as a lubricant for guns, but thankfully this is no longer a common practice. So let's just all agree to leave these creepy robot ghost sharks in the deep sea, and we'll all be better off. Next up, in our number 6 spot, the wolffish. This deep-sea creature gets its name due to its resemblance to the canine wolf species, as it has huge sharp teeth, a strong jaw, and overall predator-like appearance. But it is sometimes referred to as the devilfish for its terrifying face. Now, unlike the wolffish is actually a lone hunter, and in the cold waters of the Arctic has evolved to produce antifreeze proteins which circulate in the blood to keep its body functioning in the unruly temperatures. But despite this incredible evolution, the wolffish does not actually have a swim bladder, meaning it has to keep swimming at all times, or the sheer weight of itself would cause it to sink. Unfortunately, the wolffish is at a high risk of extinction due to overfishing, so considering that, I think it's best we leave this scary creature in the depths of the sea where it belongs. Coming in at number 5, an unknown cartilage fish. There is creepy, there is horrifying, and then there is just straight up strange. Found by a Russian fisherman, Roman Fedorstov, we have truly no clue what it is or anything about it. All we can tell is that it's entirely made of cartilage, and due to that, it's almost completely translucent. The fish has small, spiny teeth, small eyes, and a gooey, jelly-like inside that if you look at it for too long, you kinda just start to feel a little woozy. The unnamed creature is truly an oddity of the sea, and I could have gone the rest of my life without knowing of this alien specimen, but since I had to see it, now so do you. After its capture, the fisherman took to his Instagram to share his gruesome find with the world, and whatever it is, it's not something I ever want to come face to face with in the water. Next up at number 4, the frilled shark. Though it is referred to as a shark by name, it is really more of an ancient prehistoric serpent that should have never been found. It gets its name from the fringy gills along its body, and it has been recorded to measure as much as 7 feet in length. But the worst part is the 300 tiny razor sharp teeth that line its wide hinging jaw. I mean, just imagine that bite. Ugh. Oh, and if that wasn't enough, it's covered in tiny chiseled scales that can cut you if you aren't too careful. The mysterious animal is known to lurk at the bottom of the Atlantic and Pacific Oceans, although it will rise up higher at night to feed before returning once again to its deep dark habitat during the day. But don't worry, they don't swim up high enough to affect your midnight swim. Coming up next in our number 3 spot, the goblin shark. You may have heard of this rare species of deep sea shark, but if you haven't, you are in for a ride. Often referred to as living fossils due to their 125 million year existence, the goblin shark is truly a terrifying sight. And if the thought of a dinosaur shark didn't scare you, to make matters worse, these creatures can grow to be as much as 20 feet in length and weigh 450 pounds. Famously known to have slimy pink skin and a huge protruding snout, it gets its name for looking so much like, well, like a goblin, but contrasted by its huge snout or its teeny tiny little needle teeth. But don't let them fool you, as it can completely unhinge its jaw while feeding. Despite its notoriety, researchers know very little about this rare specimen, as it is presumed to be just naturally uncommon. But truth be told, I am glad there aren't thousands of these lurking in the waters, or I may never want to set foot in the ocean again. Coming in our number 2 spot, squid sulcus. First discovered in 2007 by a German research vessel in the southern Atlantic Ocean, this tiny 1-inch creature freaked out everyone at first. Armed with 8 legs and 2 huge tentacles. Well, I mean, proportionally speaking, it is only about an inch big after all. The part that shocked the world was what looked eerily similar to a set of human teeth. It's like something straight out of a science fiction movie. I mean, you can't tell me that it's not creepy to see what looks like a set of dentures on a miniature squid. But truth be told, despite how it looks, it's not actually teeth at all that we're seeing, but small, round, folded lips that we can only see a small part of. Like other squids, it has a sharp beak inside that it uses to catch and eat prey, and to date, it is the only one of its kind discovered, so let's just hope it stays that way. And last up, in our number 1 spot, the sarcastic fringe head. Although its name sounds like some kind of bad 90s grunge band, the sarcastic fringe head is actually a highly aggressive creature that resembles what can only be described as a real-life demogorgon. Found off the west coast of North America, they are extremely territorial and are able to fully fan out their jaws, exposing a row of razor-sharp teeth to scare off and intimidate others of its kind in hopes to get the best piece of turf. The bigger the better when it comes to the mouth of the sarcastic fringe head, but if the sheer size of their mouth doesn't work, they will actually slam their faces together and essentially mouth wrestle to get the job done. However, in a complete 180, it is actually the males that are the care providers, as once a female lays her eggs, she will leave immediately and the male will guard them until they are hatched. Whether their extreme aggression is about getting the best home or protecting their eggs, I never want to come near one of these terrifying creatures for as long as I live.
Kicking off our list at number 10, a 16-foot sea monster. Okay, Okay, here we go. I saw this one on TikTok. A lot of users were calling to build the ark after this one was caught, and quite frankly, I agree. I'm never swimming again. Right off the coast of Chile, this creature, 16 feet long, might I remind you, it was found, and apparently it's a bad omen. To even see this colossal oarfish in the wild means a tsunami or an earthquake is on its way. Good. We love good omens in this house. This ugly lad got over 10 million views on TikTok. He lives in Arica, Chile. Let's see if we can get him verified by the new year. I kind of love him. I love how in the photo too, everybody is in shock. That's real fear in everyone's face right there. They're like, where did this come from? Sorry, what? They all see a Zelda boss just hanging in front of them. Nice. There's one guy in the photo who's like, he has his camera out and he's not even pointing at the fish. He's just like, just completely baffled. Number 9, a long-nosed chimera. I have a long nose. Nothing like this guy, but pretty, that's all right. I don't know. A Canadian lad caught this next one. His name is Scott Turner, and he's from Nova Scotia. Back in 2016, he was deep water fishing, and he had no idea what the hell he caught. And to be fair, I still have no idea, and I wrote this thing, and I'm looking at it. A fishing trawler off the coast of Newfoundland hauled this up. California Academy of Sciences says chimeras are a group of scary fish that branched off from even scarier sharks nearly 400 million years ago. So they're massive for a reason. They have, they have large cousins. It runs in the genes, I guess. Their genes run in the family. They're all jacked and scary, I guess. Crew members aboard the Canadian trawler in their late 50s and early 60s, they've done this their whole lives, okay? They fished their entire lives, and they've only seen this maybe once in their entire career. Yeah, some deep sea horrors for you on this fine August evening. Hit that thumbs up. We're well on our way. Let's keep it going. Number 8, not a fish. Okay, sometimes you catch something that's not meant to be caught on water or on land. You don't want to catch this one. A hand explosive was reeled in. Yeah, the guy caught a military, one of those. He reeled one of those in. One of those things you use in James Bond where we always, miss. And we're like, didn't hit them all. The guy reeled in a military explosive, but he kept calm. He called the police. They came in and they were also baffled. They're like, how did you catch this? Did it pull? Did it put up a fight? What's going on? How did this hand-sized weapon make it into this little Calumet river? Or when? Zero idea. This is a common discovery in rivers. A lot of people do what's called magnetic fishing. They try and find old-timey weapons. So some European countries actually ban the sport because they don't want anybody pulling an Indiana River. Imagine reeling in something bigger from World War II, like a bigger, you get it, horrible. Number 7, Cyclops shark. Oh, I love this guy, he's so cute. Back in 1933, Dr. Thomas Hall Shasted explained in an article that the future of humans will be Cyclops, okay? They only need one eye. The human eye originally evolved to see far into the distance, but as the modern human reads, writes, repairs watches, cuts gems, swipes on Tinder, everything close up, we might just need one eye. See you later, IMAX 3D. Sorry, James Cameron, guess I'll miss that one. Well, this next catch is perfect for that future. The shark with one eye. Is he real? Is he? Help. The Cyclops shark. We saw him in 2015. You might remember him. The shark was removed from a pregnant dusky shark caught by commercial fishermen in the Gulf of California. Shark researchers have examined the preserved creature and found that its single eye is made of functional optical tissue. So it's normal, I guess, in a way, but it wouldn't have survived the conditions of the real world. Less than 50 of these abnormalities have been recorded in history ever. So there you go. 49 left to see with your one eye. Number 6, ancient antlers. Again, it's odd to find something that's not a fish, like say a World War II weapon, or say some antlers. Yeah, at first you'd think you caught a fish, but in reality it could be the antlers of a 10,000-year-old giant elk. Either one, who knows? May the odds be ever in your favor. The shape, the weight, the resistance of the water, I would fully believe that I caught a massive fish. It's like moving around with the current. I'm like, oh, what is this? No, he didn't catch any fish this time, just ancient history. Turns out when you're fishing in a local lake in Ireland, anything's possible. Just don't pull out Nessie. Please, we don't want to pull out Nessie. Number 5, black marlin. Okay, for a halfway point, I need to show you the best thing that I've ever seen online. Everybody is okay in this video, first of all. Just gonna start off by saying that, okay? Great. Back in 2012, a black marlin off Cairns, Australia, jumped and landed aboard the Little Audrey. It's great. I mean, I feel bad for the fish, of course, but it's a great clip. Check it out. Sometimes you don't have to fish. Sometimes a fish will just appear. A nice 600-pound fish will sometimes jump in your boat. How scary must that be? So the fish jumps in and then throws a seat at another fisherman before going back into the water. How amazing is this? Check the guy out on the far right. He gets his head bonked by a chair because a fish hucked a chair at him. Honey, what happened to your head? Oh, a black marlin hucked a chair at me. Yeah, it was fun. He's like, yeah, I was f***ing with it though. I'm not gonna lie, I kind of deserved it. I deserved the chair. I'm okay. Number 4, Chuck Lagoon. This lagoon was Japan's main base during the war, but come 1944, the United States launched an attack, what some still deem as Japan's Pearl Harbor. So now there's 60 ships that have sunken down, and there's around 250 planes all lying in the water. It's a graveyard. So for 70 years, there's been this massive graveyard just sitting in the Pacific, and it wasn't until recently we finally got a good look at these haunting artifacts. Thanks to deep sea divers and fishers. Yeah, thanks for hanging out in scary waters. I appreciate you. I don't like to swim in lakes, so you're so brave. Terrifying. These photos are terrifying. These fishermen have described the atmosphere, filled with, gas mask, bullet, and of course bones, as extremely haunting. Nobody was expecting these artifacts to be that well preserved either after all this time. But photos now serve as a haunting reminder of naval warfare. Number 3, deep sea anglerfish. Living at depths of over 6,000 feet, the deep sea anglerfish hunts in complete darkness. We should have never seen these fish, but unfortunately, now thanks to me, you have to. It was first discovered back in 1833 when a Greenland fisherman saw the horror up close after it washed up along the shore. They then took it to Denmark, where it was first referred to as the football fish or the man gobbler. Both great names. One's a little f***ed up, the other's kind of cool, but both great names. Female anglerfish have a glowing lure on top of their head. It's awesome and it's scary. And it's something I'm glad hides at the bottom of our ocean, if I'm being honest. This light here is created due to bioluminescent bacteria. Thousands of fish have it, and the deep sea anglerfish uses it in front of its face to hunt. Yeah, it draws in fish right in front of its massive, scary mouth. That's its main method of hunting. It has to be dazzling because, well, look at it. It's certainly not fast, definitely lacks speed and agility. Plus, living in complete darkness, they have to move slowly and rely on their senses to hunt. And as for prey, well, she'll take what she can get, no matter how big. I hope we never catch another one of these. Please stay deep and stay mysterious. Stay down, I'm good. Number 2, an eyeball. Back in 2012, this ball of yuck was found by a Florida fisherman. The classic insane Florida headline, here we go. Right on cue. The eye was the size of a softball, and for a while, beachgoers were speculating what monster it could belong to. The state's Fish and Wildlife Conservation Commission determined that the eye belonged to a swordfish. And given the straight cuts on the eye, it's clear that an angler cut it out and then threw it like a shot put back in the water. How horrible is that? Awful for the fish, but also, if you found this, that would be so jarring. I'm just reeling in and being like, oh, what's that? An eye. I'm out. I am out. And finally, number 1, Velella jellyfish. It's not uncommon to find a jellyfish or two while fishing, certainly not. But what about while you're fishing from the beach? That's a little bit odd. Especially when they arrive in, I don't know, the hundreds. These specific jellyfish called Velella are so light that the wind will push them all to shore eventually. How sad is that? Yeah, they didn't make the UFC weigh in, so now they're getting kicked out of the ocean. All they gotta do is eat a little bit more food, that's it. Hundreds of these little guys, 3 to 6 times a year, will just get blown out of the water. What a horrible way to go. That's like us being blown into the sea slowly. I'd be like, help, please? They're blue and beautiful and only about 8 centimeters long. And back in 2014, thousands of these Velella jellyfish washed along the shore along the northwest side of the United States. They look not as great when they're on shore and dead. They look like gross deflated balloons. And again, 3 years later, thousands more washed ashore again. Little haunting. They're also referred to as by-the-wind sailors because they have a little sail that pokes above the water, kind of like a shark. They have a little sail. And their tentacles will hang underneath the surface, so they'll literally go wherever the wind blows them. How cute is that? They have a little sailor hat. Yeah, we had to finish on a nice cute note. Little fish with sailor hats. That's a little better than whatever the fish that was earlier. Yuck. Number 10. The Wolverine fish. Hugh Jackman, if you're watching this, I love you. Also, this one's for you, pal. Let's do it. This year alone, there have been over 200 discoveries of freshwater fish. 200 more reasons why I'm not swimming in fresh water. Here we go. One of which is the X-Men inspired fish, the Hoplioncistrus wolverine. Yeah, these fish have strong lateral curved spikes called odontodes tucked under their gills, and they can extend and jab their prey with these prongs, these 3 prongs, hence the name Wolverine fish. It's kind of cute, I don't know. I like the claws, which is terrifying for sure, but they're tiny claws, right? Just swimming around, Julius Caesaring people in the water. Number 9, the frilled shark. Okay, back in 2004, marine biologists discovered this dinosaur, I guess, the frilled shark. Let's talk about him. Lurking about 870 meters below the surface, this guy looks like an eel at first, and then you get closer and it's not, it's even scarier. Frilled sharks can grow up to 7 feet long, which is like, a foot taller than this lanky shark here, and they can fight like Daredevil. They can hunt in complete darkness. They don't need to see anything to mess you up. Unless you're skinny dipping, you don't need to worry about the frilled shark. He's not really buzzing around anywhere, thankfully. Frilled sharks are only found a mile below the surface. Have you ever dealt with one of these? Are you a diver? Have you seen a shark in person? I saw a shark once, but it was a nurse shark. Also, it was one of those like aquarium things where like you can like go in. I don't know. I was terrified. Number 8, the walking worm. Nice. I had the same nickname in high school. Let's talk about them. Meet the Hallucigenia fortis, named by Simon Conway Morris in 1979. Now, Conway Morris named it Hallucigenia fortis because of its bizarre and dreamlike quality. Isn't that dreamlike and nice and lovely? No, it's more bizarre. There were over 109 specimens of these strange aquatic creatures found, and they range in size from 0.5 centimeter to 3 centimeters long. Not too large, but still terrifying nonetheless. And since it was an invertebrate, it lacked a spine. Also, just like me, I'm like Gumby, you know, this, I don't know what this is. Oh, hear that crack? Defining features of the walking worm, as its name suggests, were these tentacles that protruded out from the body, which it would use to walk around. It had spikes that it maybe walked on. How terrifying is that? In 2015, scientists realized where its real head was. Yeah, we thought a fossilized stain was its head for like 35 years, and then in 2015 we found its real head. And it looks like it's grinning, and it has 2 eyes, so dare I say worse than the stain observation. Number 7, the ruling squid. For ages now, sailors from Norway and Greenland have shared tales of a giant sea monster. Now, with tentacles big enough to pluck you out of your boat. Doesn't this sound a little familiar? In 1857, Danish naturalist Johannes Steenstrup found a large squid beak, and soon after, he was sent parts of another specimen from the Bahamas. So he got all these gross fishy parts, just a nice stinky table of work, and then he thought to himself, could this be the kraken? These parts were a part of a species called a giant squid. It's called Architeuthis dux, yeah, which translates to ruling squid in Latin, which is terrifying. The ruling squid. Okay, you got it. You rule the ocean, therefore I'm not going in it. Very little is known about giant ruling squid, of course, because they're so hard to track down, but we did get a photo of one back in 2005 and a video of one in 2013. Both are equally as terrifying. Check them out. Eyewitness reports from sailors also describe a 60-foot squid, so those reports don't sound as crazy after you see this, right? That's also totally an alien, like 1000%. We can just nip that in the bud. Number 6, magnificent alien. While the rest of the world was in panic mode, a new sea sponge was discovered in 2020. How fun and cute is that? Again, we're gonna poke around and touch him and then it's gonna go extinct, so enjoy him while it lasts. He was named Adviena magnifica, which translates to magnificent alien. The sponge literally gets its name because it looks like ET. How amazing is that? And to be fair, it does look like ET. An ROV found this sample over 6,000 feet deep in the Pacific Ocean. They found it in what they call a forest of weird, which is an excellent nickname given what has emerged from it. Just an alien sponge sticking their ET head out for some food. That's all we're looking at here. Cristiana Costello Branco, the researcher who found this deep sea squishy, explains the discovery in an NOAA interview, saying that as all of these organisms are intricately connected, by documenting and describing marine biodiversity, we are building a better understanding of life and the impact of humans on Earth. In this case, in the ocean. End quote. Yeah, this sounds like some Martian type stuff. I don't know how I feel about that. It's like, hey, we have no idea what's down below. Shall we continue searching? I'm like, no, we shouldn't. We should stop searching. This little guy is the key to humanity's survival. I feel it. I don't know. He's calling me. Number 5, the rare whalefish. Located in California's Monterey Bay, scientists were able to get a close look at the fish with no eyes. Yeah, so he probably had no idea any of this was happening. Everyone's like, shh. Also, it's pretty unfair just to film him without his consent. He has no idea. This little guy relies on his other senses to hunt, obviously, and pick up its surroundings. This footage was from over 6,000 feet deep, so the lack of light just decided that the whalefish doesn't need eyes. Yeah, nature and history was like, you know what? Well, you don't need them, so we're just gonna take those back. It's like, what? Give them the choice, just in case. Let them look at a movie or a cool coral. It's great to get footage of them because whalefish are rarely recorded in the deep, let alone recorded alive. Number 4, the smooth hand fish. Not to be confused with Cool Hand Luke, although that's also a pretty good time. The smooth hand fish was the first time in modern history where a marine type fish has gone extinct. Yeah, this fish was a shallow water bottom dweller, and I personally love him because he looks like a Bowser minion. Except I don't want to stomp on his head like Mario does, you know? I just want to keep him. He looks like he's in a bad mood all the time. I don't know, he looks like something's on his mind. He has a horn that protrudes out of his face, so I don't blame him, to be honest. Just 200 years ago, you would have seen these smooth dudes in the land down under in Australia. It lived in Tasmania's warm waters, and what made this fish so unique, as its name hints towards, is its little smooth hands. The smooth hand fish would seemingly walk with those hands along the ocean floor, using its fins as hands. So an angry looking fish with hands and a horn would walk towards you. Hard pass, never swimming again. Graham Edgar, marine ecologist at the University of Tasmania, sheds some light on its habits, explaining that these fish were homebodies. They didn't have a large habitat. They spent most of their time sitting in the seabed with an occasional flap just for a few meters if they're disturbed. And at that point, they would just walk away with their hands from the drama, but because humans got involved, we don't see these guys as much anymore. Number 3, Chinese paddlefish. The Chinese paddlefish was one of the largest primary freshwater fish in the world, commonly measuring around 3 meters or, 10 feet long. These fish were native to the Yangtze and Yellow River basins in China. It was one of just 2 in the paddlefish family. Now, since the 1990s, this fish has been listed on the critically endangered list, with the 2 main culprits, of course, being us humans, overfishing, and habitat fragmentation. Now, unfortunately, in December 2019, because of several surveys that failed to locate any presence of these species, it has since been declared extinct. Yeah, there's a little bit of hope that I'll leave, but so far we can't find any of these. I hope somewhere there's a colony of these little paddlefish hiding somewhere and we just can't find them, Keep hiding. Don't let us find you. We'll just fuck it up again. Don't let us reel you in or catch you. Sadly, it's believed that this fish went extinct somewhere between 2005 and 2010. But he's pretty cool looking, so we'll always remember him. Number 2, the snapping shrimp. Okay, this is terrifying. These things are tiny and yeah, never again. This little guy can literally create a sonic boom as it attacks you. That's how fast it is underwater. You will not see it coming, and neither did this explorer. Here's a clip of a mantis shrimp punching through a diver's swimming gear. Yeah, right through their water shoes. Just like that, easy.
Ow, that really hurt.
Isn't that insane? They're often found in coral reefs, oyster reefs, and these little guys, these pistol shrimp, they hit their prey at 100 kilometers an hour, and in doing so, a large air bubble is created, and because this Mike Tyson shrimp is so quick with the jab, the following pop is around 200 decibels. So the sound alone from the attack stuns their prey. Or if they're lucky, it'll sometimes just kill them, which is honestly how I'd want to go. I wouldn't want to get punched by one of these things. Imagine one of these the same size as you. That's literally Mike Tyson, actually, now that I think about it. And finally, number 1, the electric eel. Great song, not a great animal. You don't want to poke around these guys. Awesome, that's the worst thing I've ever seen. Let's talk about them. The moray eel. First of all, don't do that. Don't go up to a random eel and start rubbing it like it's a genie lamp. That's not ideal. That was the moray eel. That one can bite your fingers off. But you should never touch an eel in the first place because a lot of them, and I mean a lot of them, are electric. Yeah, as its name suggests, these type of eels can mess you up even if you were to get the first hit, even if you bopped it yourself. Specifically, the newly discovered 2.5 meter Electrophorus volti, appropriately named after Alessandro Volta, aka the guy who invented the battery. Yeah, it's named after the guy who invented the battery. This is an animal swimming around underneath us. It can release a shock of up to 860 volts. That's more than 7 times the voltage of a wall plug. The thing's powering all of these units. A swimming wall plug that gets hungry. Sick. We love nature. Isn't nature lovely? Awesome.
10 with a giant shrimp. Imagine swimming in the water with this. This 18-inch shrimp was caught off the coast of Florida, and experts believe that it is the infamous mantis shrimp with that powerful claws that are capable of breaking aquarium glass. Apparently their claws can move at speeds of 50 miles an hour. Swimming up this list, in at number 9 we have Wels catfish. These fish are known to inhabit the Berlin Lake, Spain's reservoirs, and Russia's Volga River. The Wels catfish is a huge slithering creature that can reach over 13 feet in length and weighs over 400 pounds. They're aggressive predators and they capture victims with their massive razor sharp teeth. Now on this list at number 8 is the frilled shark. This 6-foot sea monster with 300 teeth was caught in Australia. This is an extremely rare species and it is referred to as the living fossil because it has ancestors dating back 80 million years ago. The frilled shark is pretty horrific looking and I don't know what to do if I caught this thing. Like, if I catch it, I'm just not gonna reel it up in the boat. I think it's time to call it a loss and just have your fishing rod just fall in the water and call it a day. Alligator gar makes its way into number 7. This species is like a hybrid of like an alligator, a fish, and a frickin' dinosaur. The alligator gar is the largest freshwater fish in America and it has 2 rows of razor sharp teeth. This particular alligator gar measures 8 feet 5 inches long, weighing in at 327 pounds. This fisherman used nets to catch the fish and then proceeded to grab it by the gills and then it pulled it into the boat. Me, I would pull it out of the boat and just try to motor it away. I don't know. I would catch half of these things these people are catching. If I saw that by net, I would like scream like a girl and then cry and then I don't know, I would just be freaking out. I mean, these things should not be in the water. Number 6 brings us to the wolffish. A Japanese fisherman reeled this hideous looking beast near the coast of Russia. This fish has been identified as one of the largest wolffish ever recorded. The head of this fish makes up 1/5 of their body and the mouth is large enough to fit a child inside. Not that this fish eats children, but I thought I'd throw that one in there. Thank Thankfully though, the wolffish only eats crabs and mollusks. Megamouth shark makes its way into number 5. This one doesn't sound good. Some fishermen in Japan got a really big surprise when they caught this frightening megamouth shark. Now this is an extremely rare creature, weighing in around 1 ton and measuring at 5 meters in length. There are less than 60 confirmed sightings since the megamouth shark was discovered in 1976. Apparently they swim with their mouth open, so I definitely wouldn't want to encounter one of these sharks in case they accidentally just swallow me while they're swimming. Terrorizing its way into number 4 is the sawfish. This endangered sawfish was captured off the Gulf Coast of Florida, and it was reeled into the shore because it was too large for the fishermen to reel it in. This species can grow up to 18 feet long, and it weighs a staggering 700 pounds. I mean, damn. I don't think I'd want to swim anywhere near this thing or anywhere near any of these creatures on this list. Next up, at number 3, we're talking about the goblin shark. Another freaking shark. Some fishermen in the Gulf of Mexico caught the incredible rare goblin shark. I'm not sure why people are going out fishing and they're catching sharks. This 18-foot long pink predator was captured in a shrimp net, and the fisherman was absolutely shocked when they saw this prehistoric looking shark. Apparently this creepy creature uses electrical sensors on its snout to, find prey when it cannot hear or see it. So it's almost like echolocation. Luckily though, the goblin shark normally dwells in the deepest parts of the ocean, so I guess there's not much to fear, but that's it's mostly down there, but sometimes, yeah, it could be in the surface, who knows. Goliath tigerfish makes its way into this list at number 2. This species is infamously known as being one of the most dangerous freshwater fish in the world. The Goliath tigerfish can be found in Lake Tanganyika and the Congo River in Africa. Well, for one fisherman, he was able to catch the 100-pound Goliath tigerfish by using a catfish as bait. I mean, what? And also the fisherman had to use a 200-pound rod and line. This ferocious fish has 32 razor-sharp teeth and has been known for attacking humans and even crocodiles. Finally, at number 1, we have the goonch fish. I don't know, every time I say this word, it just makes me laugh. It sounds like something inappropriate. This 161-pound goonch catfish was caught in the river in northern India. This gigantic sized fish measured in at 5 feet 7 inches from head to tail and 41 inches around. Apparently this species of catfish has been known to fatally attack humans, and they are considered to be a
Starting off our list today, what's more shocking than finding a body in a river? Finding 5 bodies in a dried up one. Between May and August of 2022, along with discarded trash and a boat wreck, 5 bodies were discovered in the dried up sections of Lake Mead, a reservoir formed by the Hoover Dam on the Colorado River in the southwestern United States. On May 1st, authorities discovered the remains of an unknown individual that had been stuffed into a barrel after being killed by a blow from a projectile to the skull. And while the investigation is ongoing, police do have reason to believe that there may be mafia involvement in the death of the individual. 4 other bodies were found in the following weeks and months, and despite the fact that a firearm was located in close proximity to one of those bodies, it is believed that their deaths were a result of accidental drownings, but of course only time will tell.
Archaeologists have known about this ancient Roman fort in Galicia, Spain for decades, but just recently, in 2022, the entire site was uncovered when water levels dropped to 49% of capacity. The site is called Aquis Querquenis and was constructed in 69 to 79 AD and was abandoned around 120 AD. It was a temporary fort and military fortification for soldiers, while the nearby Via Nova Road was being built. The site was rediscovered by an archaeologist in the 1920s, and the layout was remarkably well preserved. Over the years, remains of barracks, a hospital, a granary, and even a bathhouse have been found. Then the entire site was flooded. One of the most interesting features of this place, though, is its location near the river Limia. The Romans were known for their strategic choices, and being close to water sources was crucial for any settlement. There are also the nearby hot springs. The Romans loved their baths, and it's likely that these hot springs were used by the soldiers to relax and recuperate.
Next up, we have the discovery of a lost ancient city, which was found as a result of the Euphrates and Tigris rivers' water levels becoming incredibly low in 2018 due to a prolonged drought in Iraq. As the water levels dropped, curiosity curiosity grew when the ruins of an ancient city came into view of archaeologists in the area. In 2018, scientists were able to sketch the remains of a large palace with 6-foot thick and 22-foot tall walls, adorned with well-preserved wall paintings with notes of vibrant reds and blues. Unfortunately, the lost city retreated back into the waters shortly after the discovery, but 4 years later in 2022, the reservoir went dry once again, and water levels dropped even further than in previous years. This time, the team working in the area were able to map out multiple major buildings and locate hundreds of artifacts that led them to the conclusion that they had discovered the ancient Mitanni Empire, which existed between 1600 and 1260 BC. Among the buildings, archaeologists also located an industrial complex as well as a storage facility, suggesting that the civilization would have been highly advanced.
This next discovery was made right in a farmer's backyard. Remains of huge prehistoric animals known as glyptodons, which were basically giant-sized armadillos. In 2020 in Buenos Aires, a farmer had been taking out his cows to graze when he spotted large shapes in a dried-up riverbed. He had no idea what these things were. They looked like big domes. A team of scientists arrived at the scene and started excavating, and it turns out they were the fossilized remains of 20,000-year-old glyptodons, 4 in total. There were 2 adults and 2 younglings. It was the first time 4 of these had been discovered in the same spot. They had all been facing the same direction, as if they'd been traveling somewhere when they died. Their shells were massive and weighed about a ton. Incredible find, and what's really cool is seeing all the detail of their shells and tails as the sand and dirt is removed. It's just like, yeah, they were there. Really cool.
Next up, we have the River Nile, and before you come for me, yes, I am well aware the Nile as a whole has not dried up, but part of it has. A branch of the river known as Aramat Nile Branch, which translated from Arabic to English means the Pyramids Nile Branch. It is believed that this now dried up arm of the River Nile was a pivotal part of the construction of not only Egypt's largest pyramid, the Great Pyramid of Giza, but also the smaller but still quite large ones surrounding it as well. It is believed that the Aramat branch of the Nile was used as a transportation waterway for both workers and building materials to the sites of the pyramids, based on the adjacent positioning of the riverbank to the pyramids themselves. The waterway would have been a key connection for many important locations in Egypt, and therefore would have played a key role in the creation of some of Egypt's largest and most impressive temples.
So I talked about the ancient Roman fort discovered in Spain earlier, but that wasn't the only thing unearthed by dropping water levels in the area. During that long drought in 2022, a ghost village, once known as a Cerdo on the Spanish-Portugal border, also surfaced. It had been completely submerged in 1992 when a dam was built on the Lima River. The entire village was covered by water for 30 years until it wasn't. After the severe drought that drastically lowered the water levels of the reservoir, the lost village reappeared. All the stone houses, the abandoned cars, personal items like bottles and dishes, a ghost town frozen in time since the day it was flooded. People started walking through the site. Even former residents came back to see what was left of their old homes. Many of them described how sad it was to see. One man, a fisherman who used to stop at a bar in the village after a long day's work, said the place used to be, quote, all vineyards, orange trees. It was all green. It was beautiful. Look at it now. It's so sad.
Next on our list today, we have the Jordan River, the site of a groundbreaking discovery in which massive ancient artifacts were uncovered in October of 2021 after a decade-long search of the area. Among the artifacts were large stone traps designed to corral animals into enclosures for easier hunting. The traps are the world's oldest large-scale human-built sculptures, suggesting a highly advanced civilization. But that's not all. Among the ruins, archaeologists also discovered 2 incredibly significant stone sculptures, one depicting a human figure and one a detailed human face. The dried up River Jordan is also home to a ritual altar stone, a fire pit, flint objects, animal figurines, and marine fossils, of course. All of this suggests that the civilization likely partook in creative advanced and spiritual hunting practices as well as ritualistic sacrifices too, suggesting some sort of religious practice.
Is there anything cooler than dinosaurs? Like, really think about that for a minute, because I'm not sure if you'd be able to come up with a proper answer. In 2022, parts of the Paluxy River in Texas dried up because of a drought, revealing a bunch of dinosaur footprints. The tracks date back about 113 million years. There were two types of dinos that left the prints. The larger tracks, some of which measure over 3 feet in length, were made by Acrocanthosaurus. This was a massive predatory dino, standing about 15 feet tall and measuring up to 38 feet long. Kinda looked like a T-Rex, but with a bit of a hump on its back. The smaller footprints were left by Sauroposeidon, which was a long-necked herbivore. This dinosaur was even more enormous, standing up to 60 feet tall and measuring about 100 feet long. It was one of the tallest dinosaurs to ever exist. It's so incredible, again, to see the actual tracks that these gigantic ancient animals actually walked.
Next up, we have a pretty interesting discovery. A Soviet-era submarine was found by an angler fisherman going by the name of Earl Buddy Thompson while he was out on the waters of Piasa Creek in Illinois. He was paddling down the receding riverway when all of a sudden he stumbled upon the vessel. At first, he thought it was a large log sticking out of the water, but as he got closer, he realized that what he had actually found was a submarine. When he shared his findings with the town of Beltrees, rumors began to circulate providing various outlandish explanations as to why or how the sub could have gotten there. Apparently, there was already long-term speculation going on in the town as to whether a Russian family in the area had ties to the Soviet Union, and the discovery only further fuels the speculative fire. Archaeologists are still unsure as to how the sub ended up in Piasa Creek in the first place too, especially considering the fact that Soviet submarines were primarily deployed in the world's oceans during the Cold War, not in small inland creeks in Illinois. If you know why it's there, let me know down below.
And coming full circle, we have more wild discoveries in Lake Mead that were made at the height of the drought in the area. Shipwrecks. There were more than one, there's multiple. One YouTuber, Man Plus River, filmed a video exploring one of them. It looks to be a yacht, and it's not entirely clear when it sank or how old the ship is, possibly from the 60s. Could have been all the way up to the 90s though. They found some pretty cool stuff still sitting in the wreckage, like an old rotary phone and a cassette tape, which had all been laying under the water for decades. An even cooler discovery though was the Higgins boat, this one dating back to World War II. The Higgins boats were used to transport soldiers from larger ships to beaches during invasions, and after the war, a Higgins boat was used to survey the Colorado River. It was then sold to a marina before sinking. For decades, it sat at the bottom of the water, and you had to don your scuba gear in order to catch a peek of it. But during this huge drought, part of the ship was exposed.
Alright, coming in at number 10, we have globsters. What is this? I will give you a good 5 seconds to look and then you can let me know what you think it might be. Nope, the answer isn't a decomposing luck dragon. I don't think so. Anyway, like, maybe it actually is though. I kinda tricked you because nobody really knows what this is. This was found ashore in the beach town of San Antonio in the Oriental Mindoro region in May 2018, this in the Philippines. Unidentified washed up sea creatures are referred to as globsters because they're globby and blobby, I don't know. Some people think that it was a whale, but the 6-meter long object was actually covered in white hair, which, as we know, whales are not. A lot of superstitious locals thought it was a bad omen. Local resident Tam Malling said, "The big lobster is a sign of something bad coming. Please pray for us." To be honest, if I saw this monster, I'd pretty much start praying too. The less superstitious were simply complaining of the awful smell left by the dead creature. Ugh, I can only imagine. Hands up arachnophobics. I see you, I feel you. Maybe you might want to close your eyes at number 9 because we have sea spiders. Nope, 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 nope. And a second helping of no. It seems that spiders aren't just a land thing. I thought the spiders of the sea were crabs, but I was wrong. This particular menace that has been accidentally dragged up from the ocean is the Southern Ocean giant sea spider, not to scale. He's big. he's really big. Some fun facts for you, this leggy blonde has organs in its pins. Literally. Ugh. And also, something else it literally does, yeah, it sucks the life out of its prey through its legs. No thank you. No. I'm like, just gonna respectfully decline all sea spiders for the rest of my life. It's a choice. Also a choice at number 8, we have peanut worms. Oh my, just when I thought I swore off peanut worms forever, here they are in my video. Get out. Seriously though, I am horrified by these creatures from the deep. The peanut worm is making me feel, I don't know, I feel like uncomfortable isn't really a strong enough word. I would say deeply uncomfortable. Deeply uncomfortable. Imagine being the poor soul that pulls one of these up from the ocean. Like seriously, that really is probably more than they bargained for and isn't really safe for work. Look at them, flopping around being worms. Do you want to see a bunch of them together? Here you go. I honestly totally get why they're called the peanut worm, but at the same time, can we think of a slightly better name for them? Do you guys want to see one moving? Right, not so bad, right? Okay, I'm absolutely not here for this. Coming into number 7, we have the pelican eel. No, thank you, no. Like, does he or does he not look like a demon alien from the planet Gulp? I'm really not here for an eel in general, but a pelican eel? Ugh. This here chappy bob is a deep sea fish rarely seen by humans, but is sometimes hauled up by deep sea fishing efforts. Imagine bringing one of these to the surface, like ah. Some facts you need to know about this sea beastie. The last one you're actually gonna love. Firstly, it likes to whip its tail back and forth. Secondly, it can glow pink and red if it wants to. And thirdly, do you know what? I don't even really know how to explain it to you, so maybe I'm just gonna show it to you. Wait, what? What is that we are approaching here? Let's take a closer look. Oh, it can inflate. Cool. Great, said no one ever. Coming into number 6, we have this barnacle monster. I have to say barnacles are my absolute least favourite. You know in Pirates of the Caribbean when you meet Barnacle Bill? That's my literal nightmare monster. A barnacle on my face. Ah! So in the spirit of how much barnacles turn my stomach, I want to show you this utterly bizarre monster that washed up on a beach in New Zealand. News networks were dubbing this creature a monster, and it is easy to see why. So this is a boatload of gooseneck barnacles, and they're attached to something. They're long-necked barnacles and they certainly look weird. Do you want to see them up close? Ooh. Okay, so we know the explanation. It doesn't mean the thing that washed up wasn't any less scary because bleh. Coming into number 5, we have the lamprey. No! I'm running out of ways to say no. I guess there is only one way, and no. You may have seen images of lampreys floating around the internet. They make for shock thumbnails, but actually, these fanged demons are no clickbait. They're very, very real nasties of the ocean. They're primitive eel-like fish from the North Atlantic and the Baltic. It floats around with little energy and effort, swallowing things that pass by. It's like the Mondays of the ocean. He just looks really glum. I get it. It'll get better, blobfish. Can you imagine being the fisherman that brought up the blobfish for the first time, honestly? It has been voted the ugliest creature in the world, but honestly, I actually think that I'm somewhat here for it. I mean, I'd never want to touch one, but I do love that they make blobfish plushies. Seriously, look at it. Look at the sushi one! I think I actually might need it. I'm so confused. I'm so confused.
Starting us off at number 10, the plesiosaur. A few years ago, researchers unearthed the remains of a 150-million-year-old creature that looks eerily similar to the Loch Ness. Described as having a huge body up to 39 feet long, powerful flippers that propel them at lightning speed, and a long winding neck, the plesiosaur was at one time one of the most terrifying creatures in the ocean. But could it also be the ancestor of the Scottish folklore creature? With its distinct resemblance even pointed out by the researchers, some are beginning to think so. But scientists have assured us that the plesiosaur is a completely different creature than the alleged Nessie. But still, a girl can dream. Next up at number 9, the scale worm. This might not be a folklore creature, but I'm almost wishing that it was. One of the most strange looking things that you can find traveling along the notorious deep waters near Antarctica is the scale worm. The flat, creepy crawly grows to be about 10 inches long and about 4 inches wide, so it's basically the size of a small rat. And listen, I'm in no mood to spend any time with a worm that big. And that part there that looks like some sort of sci-fi eyeless head, well, that's actually a retractable mouthpiece that can be turned inside out and then folded back into its body. Once it's ready to eat, it simply unrolls the mouth bit from inside its body and then goes forth ripping its prey into shreds with its razor sharp teeth. Not enough have been discovered yet to know what the population is like, and while I obviously hope that they're doing well as a species, I never want to be in a room with one alone. Coming in at number 8, animal remains. There are a lot of things I might expect to find at the bottom of a treacherous passage. Abandoned ships, preserved bones from dead bodies, but fossilized animal remains might be some of the most creepy I could think of. Believed to be over 250 million years old, scientists think that they've found a distant relative of mammals deep at the bottom of the ocean. Due to the insanely low temperatures, the remains were kept in pristine condition, allowing for in-depth research to be done on the creature. Although they aren't sure just what it is yet, it's about the size of a cat and they think it laid eggs. Let's just hope it's not some haunted creature looking to wreak havoc on the first to find it. Coming in at number 7, a giant egg. During the dinosaurs' times, what we now call Antarctica was home to many terrifying sea creatures, one of which was a 13-foot reptilian giant called a mosasaur. A few years ago in 2020, scientists discovered a 68 million year old football-sized egg that they believe to have been from the mosasaur creature. If they are correct, it would be the only egg from that species on record, but it still remains the only known fossilized egg ever found near Antarctica waters. Although it's an exciting discovery to many researchers, there are some people that believe the waters in those parts are extremely cursed from the plethora of spirits who remain, and believe that all that is found should be left alone. Next up at number 6, a giant squid. Back in 2007, a crew of New Zealand fishermen sailing to Antarctica unearthed something that nearly sent them sailing back to the shore. One minute they're minding their business fishing for Patagonian toothfish, and the next they notice something strange in the water beside them trying to eat one of the hooked on fish. So they start to pull up, eager to catch whatever deep sea creature had its claws on their fish, and suddenly they realize what it was. A real live kraken. The 990-pound colossal squid had eyes the size of dinner plates and razor-sharp hooks on its tentacles, and measured somewhere around 40 to 50 feet in length. One expert who examined it after the catch said that if you tried to make calamari from it, the rings would have been the size of tractor tires. I'm just glad it didn't pull the whole ship and crew into the passage with it. Coming in at number 5, lost endurance. During the early 1900s, just about every explorer around the world was dying to explore Antarctica. But without modern technologies to help stabilize the boats, some explorers, no matter how skilled, didn't even reach the shore. But Ernest Shackleton was unlike many others of his time. After successfully completing multiple trips from Antarctica, for which he was knighted, Shackleton decided to conquer a new goal: cross the Antarctic from sea to sea via the poles. So he began preparation for his expedition on what would become his most famous exploit yet. He and his team set sail on their ship Endurance in 1914, but unfortunately the ship became trapped in a pack of ice and was crushed. Luckily the crew was able to escape, but the ship was thought to be gone forever. That was until March of 2022, when the shipwreck was spotted 10,000 feet below the waves by research scientists traveling through the passage. But despite enduring blizzards, shifting sea ice, and rough seas to find the lost boat, they were required to leave it be, as it's a designated monument under the International Antarctic Treaty. But I don't know, maybe it's for the best. It was probably haunted anyways. Coming in at number 4, Ninjin. Okay, so I will start off by saying that this is a full tilt conspiracy theory, but hey, strange things have been seen in this world that turned out to be true, so who knows. Referred to as the Ninjin, this Antarctic sea creature is believed to haunt the waters of the Drake Passage, and was allegedly first discovered in the early 2000s by Japanese researchers. Now, what is interesting is that in Japanese, Ninjin means human, and for many years they have had a humanoid folklore creature of the same name. But still, there are some who swear the monster is real. Allegedly first spotted by a government employee on a whale research vessel, at first the crew thought it was another submarine, but as they got closer they realized it was alive. Originally posted to 2chan, many others came forward with photos or videos they claimed to be the same creature, but officially no confirmation of its existence has ever been set in stone. Some think it could be an alien, others are firm that it's a sea monster, while non-believers think it's a beluga or some other kind of large whale that are known to inhabit the waters there. But just like every good conspiracy theory, everyone who believes in its existence is sure that the government is hiding the truth about it. Coming in at number 3, iceberg fate. Currently the world's largest iceberg, A76A, has made its way into the Drake Passage. This is bad news because traditionally the Drake Passage is a death sentence for icebergs. Thanks to uncontrollable fast waves, icebergs are usually dragged eastward by the currents, sending them into warm waters where they soon melt and are gone, well, forever. At this point in time, there's no real reason to believe why the fate of our largest iceberg would be any different, but fingers are crossed that maybe this time will be a once-in-a-lifetime event that keeps the iceberg in Antarctica. I guess we'll just have to wait and hope that it won't be another lost iceberg adding to the rising sea levels. Coming in at number 2, risk of penguin extinction. It might not be a ghost story about a cursed artifact, but truth be told, there is not much that's darker or scarier than climate change. At the rate of how things are going, ice over the Drake Passage and Antarctica is melting. And while this might have potential to temporarily benefit some creatures, the beloved emperor penguin might be facing extinction. A researcher named Dr. Welsford says, at the rate at which the physical environment is changing appears to be faster than the rate at which Antarctic organisms can adapt. He expects that in our lifetime, things will drastically begin to change, and Antarctica, along with the notorious passage where these adorable animals can be found, might never be the same. And last up in our number 1 spot today, ghosts of the dead. There are many ghost stories from the lives lost in the Antarctic Sea, and some even think that the reason the waters are so treacherous has to do with how many spirits live in the cold depths of the Drake Passage. Waves will crash against the boats so hard that passengers worry it might just tip over. But still, Still, some passengers claim to have witnessed even scarier things than waves while riding through the passage. It's known to have two general states, Drake Lake or Drake Shake, and you never know what kind of day you'll have on board, but both are sure to bring forward ghostly encounters. On lake days, ghosts of the lost souls can be seen roaming around the deck, enjoying the calm sea, perhaps looking for their lost loved ones. But on Shake days is when the spirits come out with a vengeance. Some claim they've seen apparitions of the terrifying spirits in the water as it crashes up against the windows, and some say they hear strange noises and see lights flickering that they have never been able to explain. All in all, the Drake Passage might just be the most haunted sea passage in the whole world.
Starting off this countdown, we have the that he was abducted by a UFO, okay. But after researching, they did find that an unidentified object was present on their radar at the time of the abduction. Now, what happened to the abducted man? Well, 3 days later, his body was found 10 miles away. It was severely mutilated and drained of blood. Isn't that freaky? So it seems like he was literally abducted. Abduction story? Let me know in the comments below. And in our number 1 spot today, we have the Boy Scouts. On August 19th, 1952, a scoutmaster and his Boy Scouts were on their way home from a retreat when they encountered a bright flash near West Palm Beach, Florida. The Scouts master originally thought it was a downed plane or a car accident, so he pulled over and got out to help. He told the Scouts to stay in the car and alert someone if he didn't return in 15 minutes. So he got out with his flashlight and an axe and went towards where he saw the bright lights. This ended up taking him to a wooded area. About 4 minutes in, he started to smell something very nauseating. Then he felt like he was being watched by somebody. The next thing he remembers is feeling heat on the top of his body. He looked up and saw a hovering, glowing object above him. He started to back away from the craft when he heard a noise like metal against metal. A hatch then opened and he saw a red flare come out towards him. The next thing he knew, he was unconscious. When he awoke, he was leaning against a tree but was completely blind. His eyes had been burned by the light. When authorities found him, he was incoherent, terrified, and freaking out. Stories like this trip me out because, like, if it wasn't an alien or a UFO, then what was it, you know?
The INS Dakar, a World War II era British submarine purchased by Israel in 1965, vanished in the Mediterranean Sea in 1968 with all 69 crew members on board. The submarine was en route to its new home base in Israel and had been making excellent time, even requesting to arrive early. Then, after a few routine transmissions, it simply disappeared. An international search effort was launched, but no trace of the submarine was found. Israel insisted there was no foul play, but the disappearance of the Dakar became one of 4 mysterious submarine disappearances in 1968. Years later, a fisherman found the submarine's emergency buoy washed up on shore, but the experts who examined it made some errors that misled searchers for decades. Meanwhile, there were unconfirmed reports that an Egyptian warship had sunk the Dakar. Finally, in 1999, a joint US-Israeli search team discovered the wreckage of the Dakar on the seabed almost 10,000 feet down. The submarine appeared to have rapidly plunged past its maximum depth, causing a catastrophic hull rupture. The exact cause of the sinking remains unknown, but it's clear that whatever happened was sudden and devastating, leaving the crew no time to take emergency measures. The discovery of the wreck brought some closure, but the mystery of what happened to the Dakar in those final moments continues to haunt us. The French submarine Minerve vanished in 1968, taking with her 52 souls. She was last heard from while cruising just beneath the waves in the Gulf of Lion, promising a nearby aircraft a swift return to port. This was the final transmission from the doomed sub, and she disappeared without a trace in waters thousands of feet deep. Despite an extensive search, the French Navy couldn't locate the missing sub. For over 50 years, the families of the lost sailors were left in the dark, unsure of what had happened to their loved ones. The official file on the incident was classified, adding another layer of mystery to the tragedy. It wasn't until 2019 that a glimmer of hope emerged. A new search using advanced technology was launched, and this time, they were successful. The Minerve was found broken into 3 pieces, resting on the seabed. Though the sub was in ruins, the letters MINE and S were still visible on the hull, a chilling reminder of the vessel and the men who sailed on her. This discovery, while very bittersweet, provided some closure for the families who had waited so long for answers. The site of the wreck was declared a maritime sanctuary and a final resting place for the Minerve and her crew. The USS Scorpion was a nuclear submarine, and it vanished mysteriously in 1968, becoming one of only 2 nuclear subs the US Navy has ever lost. The official investigation was inconclusive, leaving the incident shrouded in mystery. The wreckage, found deep in the Atlantic, showed the sub had imploded, likely from going too deep. But what caused this descent remains a chilling question. One unsettling theory is that a battery malfunction in one of the torpedoes sparked a fire, triggering a deadly explosion within the submarine. Another disturbing possibility is that a malfunctioning torpedo activated accidentally and turned on the sub itself, striking in a horrifying twist of fate. Yet another theory suggests the sub's trash disposal unit malfunctioned, causing flooding and a cascade of failures leading to the implosion. Adding only another layer to the story, some believe the Scorpion was sunk by a Soviet submarine, possibly in retaliation for another incident. This theory claims a spy ring within the US Navy could have leaked the Scorpion's location to the Soviets, but the Navy maintains no Soviet sub at the time had the capability to track and attack a US sub like the Scorpion. Despite decades of investigation, the truth behind the USS Scorpion's demise remains elusive. The unanswered questions and numerous theories contribute to the eerie tales of this lost submarine, making it a haunting chapter in naval history. The USS Thresher, a cutting-edge nuclear submarine designed to hunt Soviet subs, met a chilling end on April 10, 1963. During deep-sea diving tests off the coast of Massachusetts, something went terribly wrong. Garbled messages from the submarine hinted at, quote, minor difficulties before communication was lost entirely. The Navy scrambled to search for the missing vessel, eventually discovering the shattered remains 8,400 feet below the surface. A court of inquiry concluded that a likely cause was a faulty pipe joint, leading to a cascade of problems. Imagine icy cold water spraying onto electrical panels, shutting down the reactor, and leaving the submarine powerless. The crew tried to blow the ballast tanks to surface, but it seems that moisture in the air system froze and blocked the emergency release. Trapped at crushing depths, the Thresher imploded, taking all 129 crew members and shipyard personnel with it. This tragedy spurred the Navy to launch the SubSafe program, which is a rigorous submarine safety initiative. The K-278 Komsomolets, a unique Soviet submarine nicknamed Mike by NATO, had the impressive ability to dive deeper than any American submarine at the time. This was due to its titanium hull, a super strong material that could withstand the immense pressure of the deep ocean. In 1989, disaster struck during a routine patrol in the Arctic. A fire ignited in the engineering compartment, quickly spreading through the submarine's cables and systems. Despite frantic efforts to contain the blaze, the submarine lost power and was forced to surface. Imagine the chaos. A nuclear-powered submarine on fire, floating helplessly in the frigid Barents Sea. The crew sent out distress signals, and most abandoned ship plunging into the icy waters. For hours, the submarine remained afloat, the fire continuing to rage. But eventually, it succumbed to the flames and sank to the ocean floor over a mile deep. The crew faced a desperate fight for survival. Many perished from hypothermia in the freezing water, while others were rescued by a nearby fishing vessel. Tragically, 42 of the 69 crew members lost their lives. The wreck of the sub remains on the seabed, a chilling reminder of the disaster, with its nuclear reactor and 2 nuclear-armed torpedoes still on board. Though efforts have been made to contain any potential radiation leaks, the submarine continues to be monitored closely, a silent specter haunting the depths of the Barents Sea. The ARA San Juan, a submarine in the Argentine Navy, disappeared on November 15, 2017, with 44 crew members on board. This chilling event occurred during a routine patrol in the South Atlantic as the submarine was making its way back to its base in Mar del Plata. What followed was a massive international search effort involving over 30 ships and aircraft from various countries. Adding to the mystery, an underwater sound consistent with an implosion was detected near the submarine's last known location. This suggested a tragic end for the crew, and hopes of a rescue dwindled. The search continued for weeks, but the submarine remained elusive. It wasn't until a year later, on November 16, 2018, that the wreckage was finally discovered by a private company using advanced submersibles. The submarine was found in pieces scattered across the ocean floor at a depth of nearly 3,000 feet. The haunting images of the wreckage confirmed the devastating implosion, ending any remaining hope of survivors. This marked a somber moment for Argentina and the international community as they mourned the loss of the 44 sailors, including Argentina's first female submarine officer. The ARA Santa Fe, originally the USS Catfish, had a long and storied history, starting in the US Navy during World War II, where she hunted for minefields and patrolled the Yellow Sea. After a major upgrade, she served in the Korean War and conducted training exercises before being transferred to the Argentine Navy in 1971. Renamed the Santa Fe, she found herself in the middle of the 1982 Falklands War. Tasked with transporting Marines and supplies to South Georgia, the Santa Fe faced a harrowing attack. A British helicopter spotted the submarine and dropped depth charges, causing significant internal damage. As the Santa Fe limped back to Grytviken, it was bombarded with torpedoes and machine gun fire, injuring 1 crewman. The submarine managed to return to shore, but the damage was done. The crew abandoned the listing vessel, and the British took control of Grytviken. In the aftermath, a tragic incident occurred. An Argentine crew member, Petty Officer Felix Artuzo, was mistakenly shot and killed while a prisoner of war, becoming the only Argentine submariner to die in a war. The submarine itself, damaged and partially sunk, became an environmental hazard, leaking oil and other contaminants. After several attempts, the British finally disposed of the Santa Fe in 1985, towing it out to sea and sinking it in deep water, ending the submarine's long and eventful life. Picture a German submarine, U-864, is silently gliding through the depths of the North Sea during World War II. It's on a secret mission to deliver a deadly cargo to Japan, 67 tons of liquid mercury, a key ingredient in explosives. The crew is tense, knowing they're carrying a ticking time bomb, not just for their enemies, but for themselves. Unbeknownst to them, a British submarine, HMS Venturer, is hot on their trail. Venturer's crew has cracked the German naval codes and is determined to stop U-864 at all costs. coasts. A cat and mouse chase ensues, both submarines submerged, each listening for the other's slightest sound. It's a high-stakes game of hide and seek where one wrong move could mean instant death. After hours of tense pursuit, Venturer takes the gamble. The crew calculates U-864's trajectory and fires a spread of torpedoes. The German sub hears the incoming threat and desperately tries to evade, but it's too late. One torpedo strikes, causing a catastrophic explosion. U-864 is ripped in two, sinking to the bottom of the sea, taking all 73 crew members and their deadly cargo with them. Fast forward to 2003, the wreck of the U-864 is discovered off the coast of Norway, but the danger isn't over. The mercury containers have rusted, leaking poison into the surrounding waters. It is a chilling reminder of the submarine's deadly mission, a ghost ship still haunting the depths, its toxic legacy lingering on. The Soviet submarine K-129 vanished in 1968, leaving behind only a trail of mystery. This wasn't just any submarine, it was a ballistic missile sub carrying nuclear weapons, disappearing without a trace in the vast Pacific Ocean. The Soviets frantically searched, but the Americans, eavesdropping with their underwater listening system, found the wreck first. What makes this story extra creepy is what happened next. The US, in a top-secret mission codenamed Project Azorian, tried to raise the sunken sub from its watery grave almost 3 miles deep. Imagine a giant claw reaching down into the darkness to grab a nuclear-armed submarine, the craziest claw game ever. They managed to lift part of it, but then the claw malfunctioned and a large chunk of the sub fell back to the ocean floor. The whole operation was so secretive that it was disguised as a manganese mining expedition. The US has never fully disclosed what they salvaged, but rumors suggest that they got their hands on nuclear torpedoes and other military secrets. So what really happened to K-129? There are many theories, each more chilling than the last. Was it a battery explosion, a collision with a US submarine, a missile malfunction, or even a mutiny? We may never know for sure, but the mystery of K-129 remains one of the Cold War's most fascinating and unsettling tales. The Soviet submarine K-429 has a strange and unsettling story. This nuclear-powered vessel wasn't just dangerous because of its reactor, it actually sank twice. The first time was in 1983 during a training exercise. Even though the submarine was undergoing repairs, the Soviet High Command ordered it out to sea anyway. During the dive, a section flooded instantly, tragically killing 14 sailors and sending the submarine to the bottom of the bay. Luckily, it sank in a shallow area, so the surviving crew members were able to escape through torpedo tubes after 2 crewmen swam to the surface to get help. The submarine was repaired, but in a bizarre twist of fate, it sank again in 1985 while docked, this time due to worker error. No one was killed, but the K-429 became infamous for its double sinking. The story shows how dangerous submarines can be even without enemy attacks, and highlights the sometimes careless attitude towards human life during the Cold War. Starting off this list, in our number 10 spot, we have this haunting call. Whales truly are some of the coolest animals on Earth, and humpback whales are no exception. The males of the species are known for their songs, which last from 10 to 20 minutes and are actually pretty complex. They will repeat these songs for hours at a time, and it honestly isn't exactly known why they sing these songs at all. All the males in the group will produce the same song, and it will change seasonally. The females are also able to produce noise, but for some reason it is only the males who seem to produce these long songs. It is unclear how the whales even produce these sounds, however, because they don't actually have vocal cords. This is all super cool and interesting, but the whole reason you're here is for the sound, so let's take a listen to a more haunting track released by the humpback whale. Okay, so please tell me I'm not alone in thinking that that was the most beautifully haunting sound I've ever heard come from the sea. But also imagine being alone in the ocean, not knowing what that was, and then hearing it. Probably pretty terrifying, right? At least we're all safe here in YouTube land. In our number 9 spot today, we have this marine chorus. Okay, so out of context, if I played you this sound, what would you think it is? Definitely not something underwater, right? Well, as it turns out, this sound was indeed captured under the water, and these are the sounds of fish calls. While I always expected the chorus of marine animals to sound a little more similar to the stylings of Sebastian the crab, apparently that isn't even close. Okay, I'm not gonna lie, I didn't even know that most fish had calls, but it turns out that our human ears just can't perceive all of the hoots, moans, barks, and chirps that take place in the vast seas. This recording actually helped scientists realize that there are fish who sing together in a chorus every day at dusk and dawn. There have now been around 800 species of fish that have been identified and confirmed to make some form of noise, and apparently some fish even engage in shouting matches in noisier parts of the ocean, which is kind of hilarious to imagine. I guess on the list of creepy noises, this one is less creepy and more just informative. In our number 8 spot today we have the whistle. This is a sound that was first recorded in 1997 by the NOAA and was the source of many mysteries for years while people speculated about what may have caused the sound. While it still isn't exactly clear, it is now believed that the sound may have come from an underwater volcano eruption. If you didn't know, underwater or submarine volcanoes are located in all oceans on our Earth, and they're extremely interesting. There are certain kinds of marine animals that only exist near these extreme environments. Many submarine volcanoes are located near the areas of tectonic plate formations, which are also known as mid-ocean ridges. There's a YouTube user called Some Canadian, and they left a comment on a video of this whistle sound that pretty much sums it up exactly. First, we'll listen to the sound played at 10 times the original speed. The comment read, quote, "It could be the sound of something moving through tunnels. 1. Volcanic eruptions and gases. 2. Something big and hungry. You choose." I think they might really be onto something there. In our number 7 spot today we have bloop. Why are all of the weirdest ocean sounds first recorded in 1997? Bloop is another one that came from that year, and it was a loud and unusual sound that was placed as occurring several times off the southern coast of South America, and it was so loud that it could be heard over 5,000 kilometers away. At first, researchers were confused because, while the sound was actually similar to known sounds of living creatures, it was just way too loud that not even the blue whale, the largest living creature, could have produced it. So what is it then? Well, as it turns out, it is in fact not the Kraken, and instead it is actually consistent with ice quakes that are generated by large icebergs as they crack and fracture. It seems like this sound, going with that explanation, doesn't really make sense, but hey, I'm no scientist. But here's the sound for you to judge for yourself. In our number 6 spot today we have the Western Pacific biotwang. In 2014, researchers and scientists heard weird sounds coming from the Mariana Trench, which, for the record, seems like the worst place for there to be strange noises coming from. For years, experts couldn't pin down this sound, and it was dubbed the Western Pacific biotwang, and while there is now a theory that was proposed by researchers from Oregon State University, they have also said that they might be entirely wrong. First, for reference, here's a little clip of the sound I'm talking about. Okay, so if you're like me, my mind immediately went to something alien related or some sort of creature that perhaps we haven't yet discovered. I mean, this is the Mariana Trench we're talking about. The theory put forward by the Oregon State researchers was that perhaps this may be a new type of baleen whale call. Okay, that's probably the best of all of the options, but I really don't like when someone tells me the answer to a scientific mystery only to tell me that that might not actually be the answer at all. While the low part of the sound would make sense to attribute to the baleen whale, it's the end high-pitched twangy part that would be incredibly unique. The wide range of frequencies in the sound are what continues to baffle those who are trying to find the source of this mysterious sound. In our number 5 spot today we have Julia. Julia is a sound that was recorded in 1999 by the US National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration, or NOAA, which I've already talked about today. It sounds like it could be straight out of a horror movie, so considering it was a sound that came from our ocean and at first no one could tell where it had come from, it really was quite frightening. The sound has now likely been demystified, as researchers are pretty positive they know the origin of it. It is now believed that this sound was caused by an iceberg running aground off Antarctica. The sound, however, was insanely loud. It was so loud that it could be heard over the entire equatorial Pacific Ocean autonomous hydrophone array. Researchers were later able to narrow down what they believe may have been the point where the sound originated, although they've never actually been able to pinpoint it exactly. way. Most of the time when people hear the Julia sound, they hear it sped up at 16 times the original speed, but today we are going to listen to a clip of the sound at regular speed because I think it is much more eerie this way. In our number 4 spot today we have Knock. Okay, this is one that I'll admit was not captured by a submarine, but it was still underwater and it truly is terrifying. A few years ago, a beluga whale named Knock, who was unfortunately in captivity, was recorded as he swam below the water. Beluga whales have been called the canaries of the sea, and for good reason, but Knock really wanted to up the ante and instead blessed us all with this sound. Knock had this uncanny ability to mimic the rhythm and tone of human voices, and it truly is kind of frightening. It of course is also a little sad, as part of this was probably because he spent most of his life being forced to listen to humans speak because he was being held in captivity. Before this recording of Knock, the voices of belugas and their sometimes human-like sounds have been talked about, but Knock was the first time it was recorded, and honestly, I kind of wish it hadn't been. In our number 3 spot today we have the bioduck. Since the 1960s, this sound has absolutely stumped researchers who heard it. This sound was basically what the name attributed to it would suggest. It sounded like some sort of mechanical duck. For decades, researchers would hear this sound and it would often be heard and recorded again in the spring and winters. After all of these years though, it seems as though the answers to this mysterious sound are finally coming to light. In 2013, researchers attached sensors that collect acoustic data to 2 whales. One of those tags recorded for 18 hours and the other for 8, and the whales they were attached to were traveling with other whales in groups of 5 to 40, and they were all eating basically the entire time. Throughout this time, with the tags on the whales, there were a total of 32 calls heard, and this data is what led researchers to finally understand where the bioduck sound was coming from. As it turns out, this mysterious sound was actually the call of the minke whale. Researchers still aren't exactly clear as to what the call means to the whales, but it was a fantastic discovery that finally closed an almost 50-year-old scientific mystery. In our number 2 spot today we have upsweep. We all know how little we know about the ocean, and that also includes what kind of creatures lie in it. So while this mysterious sound out of context probably wouldn't be that freaky, when put into this situation it becomes quite a bit more eerie. This sound is referred to as upsweep, and it was caught when the Pacific Marine Environmental Laboratory started its sound surveillance system in August of 1991. The sound is apparently more seasonal, with its peaks in spring and fall, but it is unclear if the changing of seasons is responsible for this sound, or if it's coming from something that lurks in the ocean and remains undiscovered. Just for reference, here's a clip of that sound played at 20 times the original speed. It is possible that this sound could be coming from underwater volcanic activity, but it is also possible that it's not, so who really knows? In our number 1 spot today we have an earthquake. Okay, so to add another creepy Mariana Trench sound to this list, we have one that was taken from the bottom of the Challenger Deep. In fact, it was the first ever sound recording to be taken from the bottom of the Challenger Deep, so it's a pretty cool scientific advancement as well as a terrifying sound. Despite the crushing pressures and the fact that there's no sunlight, the Challenger Deep is actually pretty noisy, and that is because of the fact that sound travels a really long way underwater, which ends up kind of turning the Challenger Deep into a sort of echo chamber of oceanic sounds. So while the recording was able to pick up things like the sound of a boat almost 11 kilometers overhead and the sounds of whale calls, they were also able to pick up the sound of a magnitude 5 earthquake rumbling near Guam on July 16th, 2015. Gonna lie, while being one of the scariest things I've ever heard, this is also one of the coolest things I've ever heard in my life too. Science really is just so cool sometimes. Alright guys, that has been our list for today. Thank you so much for checking it out. Don't forget to hit that thumbs up button if you enjoyed the video today, and as always, subscribe. I've been your host today, Olivia Kozlowski, and I'll see y'all next time. Bye!
Create a video using exactly this script. It's about the darkest secrets in the ocean that you never knew about. Click the video now to find out more and prepare to have your mind blown. See you guys in the next one.